Hello YouTube, welcome to this fine day, and today we are going to have a look at Djeru and Hazoret in Historic Brawl. This deck aims to win by being the aggressor in most games and then just closing it out with a really big threat at the top end. So this deck is basically a hybrid aggro reanimator list in a way, where the aggro plan comes just from good 1-drops, good 2-drops, good 3-drops, right? And then your curve topper is effectively a reanimation spell in a way, or like a cheat into play effect in your commander, Djeru and Hazoret. It's a 5 mana, a 5/4, with as long as you have one or fewer cards in hand, Djeru and Hazoret has vigilance and haste, and effectively you want to only play your commander when you have that line of text, honestly. So like, let's say you have like 2 cards in hand, and then you play a commander and don't have haste, but you could just play a card from hand and then play another land next turn, and then you have 1 card anyways and can immediately attack in. But I'm already getting ahead of myself. The real kicker is, whenever Djeru and Hazoret attacks, look at the top 6 cards of your library. You may exile a legendary creature from among them. Put the rest on the bottom of your library in a random order. Until end of turn, you may cast the exiled card without paying its mana cost. So we have a bunch of huge legendary hits in this deck. And yeah, then like you try to attack with the commander and you just try to play one of these post-combat and go really to town effectively. We also have 2 actual reanimation spells in a way. Late to dinner, just 4 mana, return a target creature card from your graveyard to the battlefield, create a food token, really nice. You can basically put any big creature into play on turn 4. And then Seance is a weird one, but it is a surprisingly effective card in this deck. So Seance says, at the beginning of each upkeep, you may exile target card from your graveyard. If you do, create a token that's a copy of that card, except it's the spirit in addition to its other types. Exile it at the beginning of the next end step. Notably, this card doesn't grant haste. So if you put an Emrakul into play with this, you just have an Emrakul for a turn sitting there without doing anything. But that isn't too bad, because a lot of these cards here have an immediate effect when they hit play. For example, Elesh Norn is still really good, even to just have it around for 1 turn to wipe the opponent's board. Grass growing your whole board to 5/3s is usually enough to kill the opponent, and so on and so forth. You still have like a decent amount of value you can get from this, and you know, you can also, during the opponent's turn, you can put a Thalia into play during their upkeep, and then their attacks for 1 turn. A whole like bunch of different cool interactions you can have with Seance. The whole room gets tied together with discard, draw, looting effects. So, yeah, looting, Faithless Looting is the original looting card. Draw 2, then discard 2. Anything that goes basically card neutral. Well, Faithless Looting is inherent card disadvantage, but you usually want to go card neutral with the draw discard effects. And because that is so you can discard all of these big creatures, because your commander does have inherent tension with itself and doesn't synergize with itself, which is kind of weird, because you are incentivized to play a lot of really big things in your hand, but you're also incentivized in your deck, and you're also incentivized to play out your hand as fast as possible so you can actually get the haste effect on curve. But that's not possible if you have all these big things. So you're playing a lot of these looting effects, like Scrapbook Mod, enters the battlefield, you may discard card. If you do, draw a card. Bitter Reunion, discard a card, draw 2 cards. Nahiris all have these effects on uptick, where you discard a card, draw a card. And that is so you can ensure you still empty out your hand quickly while getting rid of these basically unplayable cards, at least in the early game, right? So that is the whole idea of the deck. You have like some cards that also just synergize really well with it. The Phoenixes are notoriously effective at being in the graveyard. Tomokul, Phoenix, Phoenix of Ash, right? You have some cards like Squee, Dubious Monarch, which effectively have like Escape, where you can play them from the graveyard again and again. And you also have some Madness synergies with Blazing Root Waller and Fairy Temper that where you can play those cards whenever you discard them. So effectively we're trying to go 1, 2, 3 aggressive curve, empty out our hand very, very aggressively, to the point that we sometimes just try to discard our whole hand with a card like Fleeting Spirit or Guardian of Nubenalia. Like, a card like Guardian of Nubenalia is in this deck, so we can, in the opponent's end step, just discard 2 cards for no value just to get the haste effect on the commander, right? And, you know, like this deck plays really well if you just randomly put a bunch of cards into the graveyard and have no hand, because of all these recursive engines like Squee, Dubious Monarch, Oxa of Agonas, and so on. That's the whole idea, really. One thing I wanted to mention is that I really value the looting effects being on bodies, because otherwise the aggro plan doesn't really work consistently. For example, Cathartic Reunion is a 2-mana sorcery that lets you discard 2 cards and then draw 3 cards, which is really good. But a card like Immerstorm Raider also produces a body, so you like these cards really tie the room together. Whereas if you cast something along the lines of Cathartic Reunion, you are losing out a lot of tempo. So that is the reason why I don't play those. The one copy I'm playing of these effects is Bitter Reunion, because you can sacrifice it to give haste, which is really relevant with the commander if you are not empty-handed, with a card like Seance, right? But for the most part, I've cut them basically all. I tried just playing all of them, and I think the effects that discard 1 and draw 2 are better than the ones that are discard 2 and draw 3, purely because there are going to be a lot of spots where you don't even have 2 other cards to discard. So yeah, that's basically my thought on the on how I constructed the deck the way I did. Hope you enjoyed the video. If you do, consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and join the Discord. It is free. It is a huge community for historic Brawl. We brew decks, and everybody's having a good time, so check that out for sure. And let's play some Djeru and Hazoret in historic Brawl. Enjoy. We are ready to play against Adeline the Covetous, and let's see. One thing I want to add is I'm really happy to mulligan down to 6 with this deck, because that means I can ensure getting the haste effect of the commander. And yeah, I mean, this is an easy mulligan. We don't even have white. We have way too much top end, right? Yeah, also easy mulligan. So like, don't be afraid to mulligan down to 6. You're functioning really well on a low card quantity. As weird as that sounds. On the play, I would I'm more inclined to keep a 7-card hand than on the draw, because on the draw we get 1 additional card. But both of these hands haven't been really keepable. So let's see. Yeah. And let's do this. Sadly, don't have a 2-drop currently. Like, there is a very real argument to just discard something with the Neonate, but I also just like having the Lightning Eggs up. And yeah, let's see. Obviously, we're also playing against a vampire deck here with a control element, I would assume, which means that I don't think that our commander is actually going to resolve on curve. Probably going to Lightning Axe something, but then we're mostly empty-handed. Maybe that's not too bad. I would kind of want to just play this Phyrexian Dragon Engine on curve just to have some amount of pressure in play. But I also just really want to destroy this Indulgent Aristocrat. Let's think about it. So yeah, let's get hit by this. We're going to play the Phyrexian Dragon Engine in this spot. Oh, that's just so good. Oh, that's such a good draw. Because then we can Lightning Axe the Adeline the Covetous. That lines up really well, right? Okay. I would be happy to trade this Indulgent Aristocrat for a Yahenni. And the way we do that, like, they attack with Yahenni, right? And they can sacrifice a creature to give Yahenni Indestructible. So we're going to block here, forcing them to give Yahenni Indestructible. And then next turn we discard whatever card we draw. We attack with Ambergris and just refill our hand, which is going to be great. And we're fine doing that because, you know, Phyrexian Dragon Engine is also really good from the graveyard. Yeah, we kind of... Yeah, kind of into this line. Discard a card. Discard Professor of Symbology. And Ambergris is actually kind of weird to attack on turn 4 with, because there is not going to be a spot where we ever get to haste Djeru and Hazoret in here, but the card is just still good in this deck, so like, it just fits the game plan very, very nicely. They put a big vampire into play. I wonder what that is going to be. We can destroy the Sorin immediately with the Insolent Neonate, effectively. Enrika Domnathi, do you sacrifice opponent? I assume you don't. Yeah, just immediately transform. Not even. Okay, yeah, we're going to Esper Sentinel, Fateful Absence, destroy Enrika Domnathi, and swinging at Sorin, swinging with Ambergris, drawing one more card. Yeah, and that is just the aggro game plan this deck. Like, you're attacking from multiple different angles, and this was just, yeah, aggro them down and then just get a ton of value. And just one more land drop would have meant that even after a board wipe, we can refill again with a Phyrexian Dragon Engine. Just a lot of reach here. GG. We are ready to play against Redain, God of the Worthy. And against other aggro decks, we're usually more on the do big stuff plan. I mean, this hand is just beautiful. 1-drop, 2-drop, loot away Drakuseth. Yeah, I really like it. So let's do this. Yeah. Just going to play a Scrapbook Mutt on turn 2. Yep. Just stay mana efficient. Would have loved to obviously just play Kamano faces Kakazan on turn 1 over Insolent Neonate, but can't do anything about that. We would obviously also love to just draw a 2-drop in this spot, just to be able to empty out our hand very quickly. Maybe we're even cracking the Insolent Neonate to find something to play. Honestly, I'm into just cracking the Neonate just to discard this Avacyn anyways. So let's swing in. Crack Neonate. Find just anything to play. Big Scry. And let's see. Oh, beautiful actually. Let's play another white source. Don't think we need more than this. Yeah. Yep. Kamano faces Kakazan, and we will be able to just swing in with the commander. And we get to put a counter on Guardian of New Bernalia, which is actually huge, because their commander... Oh, well, that shuts some things off, right? But their commander is a 3 toughness creature, and that is going to be 3 power, and effectively indestructible. Rule of Law makes it so we can't play our commander and swing in the same turn and play the card we get off of that. So I don't think there is a point in actually trying to give the commander actively haste right now. Well, except the 5 damage. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to crack the Bitter Reunion right now. That gives the Guardian of New Bernalia haste, and we can use the Enlist ability in order to scry. And I think I'm just going to leave lands on top. Well, maybe we can also just find other things that we want, but the scry ability just helps to smooth out our future draws. Yeah, I don't think I need a Fiery Temper in a spot like this. and just drawing lands to naturally work up to this Elesh Norn and just overwhelm the opponent. That is the current plan. Any engine is also very welcome, just a Phoenix or something similar like that. Reprobation, sure. That means that the opponent is somewhat likely to just play a board wipe, I think. I think we want to pressure the opponent without needing to overcommit our commander onto the board. Because we attack him with 5 power each turn. They do get 4 life with this Maze Mind Tome, effectively buying them another turn. Eventually they will be able to activate Labyrinth of Scoffer somewhat consistently. But I just don't see the point in just playing a commander and then just losing to a board wipe immediately. So let's not do that. And the commander doesn't even have haste, and then if they play a board wipe, we can go, if we draw another land, we can still not attack in with the commander immediately, but then we get to play the commander. They board wipe, they kill the commander immediately again, and then we play the commander again. It's just not reasonable to overcommit here. Portable Hole, yeah, Scrapbook Much is the one that I would have liked to keep, obviously, in case of a board wipe. Oh, that's really good, actually. Well, is it? Because the Gaia Reach Sanitarium is good in matchups where we just don't slam the big creatures and loot them away instead. But now we... yeah, sure. Yeah, now we just play Elesh Norn, swing in, and it's going to be great. They can kill both of these. Like, that deals 4 damage. Oh, they go face with this, sure. And like, this overwhelming board really incentivizes the opponent to just board wipe here with this Phyrexian Vindicator, and then we can swing in. Oh, that is not what's going to happen. There is one card here that loses us the game on the spot, effectively. And that is Settle the Wreckage. 4 mana, exile all attacking creatures a target player controls, and then that player puts in basic lands from the deck up to the number of of attacking creatures. So if we attack with everything at Settle the Wreckage, we get 3 basics, but we don't have any pressure whatsoever anymore. The question is obviously, can we play around it? If we just play Bomat Kira, attack, we lose to spot removal. But we play better around Settle the Wreckage. Whereas if we play Aurelia the Warleader, we are basically immune to spot removal. Let's see. What it's going to be. I think it is more likely for them to have spot removal. But Settle the Wreckage is the more likely card, I think, in general, that is in their deck. Yeah, okay. That's fine. Okay, they grind it out. Yeah, even... it is really brutal anyways, isn't it? No attacks. Phyrexian Vindicator. A really nasty card here, but they can't attack. That is at least something. They really can't attack into us. That is obviously not great. Let's just play Djeru and Hazoret and pass the turn. Kozilek the Great Distortion is one of those cards like we can't actually cast unless we have... oh my god, it's so unfortunate. Well, we can't cast it, we're so far off, right? But yeah, we can't actually cast things off Djeru and Hazoret now. So we need some form of removal. The Gaia Reach Sanitarium is, I think, going to be playing a decent role here and trying to come back from this game. Don't need that, I believe. Okay. Do we commit the Bomb and Courier to the board? I think we just do. Just to have the additional body in play. Crawling Barons, sure. So, Phyrexian Vindicator plus Soulless Jailer makes it so we can't really attack. Because the one reason to attack here would be to just cast something big and nasty off the top, which is not going to be a thing. Maybe they should have considered playing the backside. So, let's see. They constantly gain life, which is obviously a problem. So, let's just play an Elesh Norn here. Why do they have one additional... yeah, from the Paladin class, right? Can we even attack is the question. Not really. Like, we swing in, they... no, we can't attack with this, true. And remember, we can't cast the exiled cards off of this Elesh Norn. Do we want to keep that in the deck? I think we do, so let's decline. Oh no, I am... every time! Phyrexian Obliterator is not a card I play against. Phyrexian Vindicator is not a card I play against, personally. I think this is the first time I've played against this card in, like, ages. I wasn't... every time I attack into this, I forget that it just prevents the damage. It just prevents the damage. I mean, yeah, I've already attacked into it like once or twice this game, but I keep forgetting. This is my kryptonite. It's not a card you usually see because it just dies to removal, which is not what you want to have in a environment like Historic Brawl. I think we are inclined to just cycle away this land, find removal for... like, without removal we're toast. But oh man, they did have the answers. Like, that is the problem with stacks in general. It's that your answers are so hyper specific that 90% of the games you're going to play, you're going to have the wrong answers for the wrong threat. And then sometimes you have games like this where it just lines up beautifully, right? Absolutely beautifully. And then the opponent just dies. And I think their deck just lines up really nicely against us, and I think it's great. I think it is absolutely fantastic, and I love it. I don't think there is an out here, unless we... let's see. I mean, we do have a bunch of really great draws, to be honest. Emrakuls and whatnot. Going to play to my out. Yeah, obviously, like, losing the Elesh Norn, there was such a huge mistake, because the issue there was that, you know, their board is pretty big now. It is a huge board. And I would have loved to just, like, Lightning Bolt the Soulless Jailer. Overwhelming Splendor. Yes, a card like that would do it, I believe. And I think we're toast. Yeah, I think even, yeah, if we didn't attack, we had one option here, like, one spot where we could have just attacked in with Djeru and Hazoret, and get something, because we could have bolted the Soulless Jailer. Oh yeah, we also can't activate abilities. But that is a good game. Really nice. We are ready to play against Ragavan Nimble Pilferer, and let's see. Opponent goes first. I think this is actually a really difficult hand to keep, because it is just a Petra's Humiliation, no way of pitching this Avacyn. Like, that's the thing with Ragavan. You don't have, like, if Ragavan is on the play, yes, you can have turn 1 answers, but based on your mana situation and the rest of your hand, you can't really keep those hands. And I think this is a perfect example. Yes, that is a really nice hand, and I'm happy to pitch this Emrakul to this Lightning Axe. And Ambergris is also just a much better card for this specific deck than Adeline is. So let's see. Really nice card back. Shadow Spear, sure. Renegade Tactics. In response to that, we're going to remove the Ragavan, because then they don't get to draw a card. And then we will play to the board. Yeah, and again, like a card like Fleeting Spirit, you can hold full control and then hold. So you hold priority, right? And then you keep discarding in response to its own exile in order to just discard your whole hand immediately on the spot. Okay. I'm just trying to figure out what kind of Ragavan deck they're on. I think I'm happy to just discard the whole hand here and get a fresh one. Like, just go -1. That's fine. Okay. If we top deck a land, then we're just going to play this Esper Sentinel. Esper Sentinel, funnily enough, almost didn't make the cut, because it is such a bad card to have in the deck of a Djeru and Hazoret deck. Because what the opponent can do... okay. What the opponent can do is... let me think what to pitch. I think we're supposed to pitch the Esper Sentinel. What the opponent can do is just, like, we play a land, have 5 mana, 1 card left in hand, play Djeru and Hazoret. In response to that, they just play anything, let us draw, and now Djeru and Hazoret doesn't have haste anymore. And that would be, that is just clearly an issue, right? Anyways, we're going to be able to attack in for 5 with Djeru and Hazoret next turn. They get a fresh hand, pitch anything that's, yeah, they keep 1 card, they have something, but there is nothing, I believe, that can actually kill our commander at instant speed here. Yeah. I'm going to fetch with this Fabled Passage now. Fabled Passage is also a card I'm not sure on if it's supposed to be in the deck, but I've had some mana issues in the past here. Very certain it shouldn't be in the deck. Anyways, let's do the thing, shall we? Swinging for 8. And whiff. That is, I mean, that is the... We're running, let's say, 15 hits that I kind of really want to hit with Djeru and Hazoret, right? If you have 10 hits, the math is only like below 50% to hit something. I didn't do the math of like 15 hits, but it's not good. So keep in mind that you will have sometimes just whiffs, and a lot of our threats are legendaries as well, like Ambergris and whatnot, so you do have like an increased amount there, but I mean, it is what it is. Here, by the way, we let our Fleeting Spirit die, because we would rather have the chance of hitting land and attack with the commander again, than have this Fleeting Spirit on the field. At least that's my thinking, because now we're open, like we have an Adeline on the board to pressure them, and we have the option of just top decking land, attacking. So the only bad draws at this point are our 12, although I have, how many 6-drops am I running? I think we only have like 8 dead draws at this point, considering that we discarded the Emrakul, maybe 7. Everything else is effectively live. Faithful Suiting would also be surprisingly bad in my opinion. Yeah. So, let's see. I assume they remove the Adeline. They can also just like dash Ragavan. They don't dash him. They give him haste with the Swiftfoot boots. That's fine. If they if they, yeah, they just equip with Shadow Spear, right, and then just stay on defense. Anyways, we are going to Djeru and Hazoret. swing in. And hit an Etali. Pretty decent. Yep. They gain 5. Commander back to the command zone? Sure. And we just put big threats into play. Like, obviously, if we just top deck it... Like, I think the actual best card are the 3 Eldrazi's, but among the Eldrazi's, Kozilek has been the best one. Because you constantly are empty-handed, so you, like, if you attack with a commander, you are going to draw 6 or 7 cards with the Kozilek. And Kozilek is also just a 12/12 menace that can counter things. And since we have a pretty large mana value spread in the deck, Kozilek can counter most things. The only weakness of Kozilek is likely going to be a 4-mana board wipe, because like 4 and 5 mana cards are the ones that we're lacking the most. That, I think, is the single worst thing that the opponent could have, but also Soul Partition. Nice. Yeah, they stole our commander, Etali, but Soul Partition only increases the cost of a card we exile. Like, you exile the card and then the owner can play it again, and we are the owner. And it only costs 2 more if the opponent casts that spell. So by exiling our own stolen creature, we get to cast it again for 6 mana later on. Yeah, anything is a good top deck. If we top deck a land, we play Etali. I mean, we're already pressuring them a lot on board. Yeah, they're just missing the mana to play Ragavan and equip a Shadow Spear, which means that they are... Like, they have to block this Adeline, they go down to 1, then we have an Etali in play. They are really in a rough spot here. Maybe it was just correct for them to just play Ragavan equip, and then they could have blocked Adeline, but they also would have gained a lot of life in the process. So maybe that was too hasty by the opponent. Ah, they have removal for Adeline. Okay, then I think I'm a bit more on board, because then they can play Ragavan Haste next turn. They could crack this Mindstone and still make that play if they have a land drop to make. No, they can't. Yeah, that is quite an issue. I think we're gonna go for lethal. But also just this Elesh Norn. Basically forever blocking off the Ragavan is going to be extremely brutal. GG. We are ready to play against Vorinclex. Opponent goes first, so we have an additional card to draw. The reason to keep this hand is because we have a Guardian of New Benalia, which is really good at emptying out our hand aggressively. But at the same time, we can also just empty our hand to mulligan for a more busted start, like turn 1 Ragavan and whatnot. So let's just mulligan. Okay, Esper Sentinel is an interesting one. The issue is that we're playing against a mono-green Stompy deck that just very likely just plays creatures. Maybe they... Well, depends, but for the most part the opponent is going to be playing mostly creatures. We have a 1-drop. We have a 1-drop on 2, the Phoenix of Ash, get in with some damage, but like they have a 5-mana 6/6 reach in the command zone. So maybe it's correct to keep it based on Inferno of the Starmounts, but that just trades with the commander. Let's go down a bit more. Yes, I like that. Now the question becomes, which of these do we pitch? We can also just pitch a land, right? That is always going to be a thing, but this deck is constructed in a way where you mostly want to discard non-lands. Like we're only on 38 lands plus 1 double-faced card, I think, right now. So I'm kind of incentivized to keep the land. Lightning Bolt can pick off a Mana Dork. We're always going to pitch this Tomakul Phoenix because it is just like, you always get to play it for 3 mana out of the graveyard if it hasn't died yet. So like a lot of this card is great effectively. I'm just not sure which one of these to keep. Given that we also have a Lightning Bolt, I think I like the Professor of Symbology more than the Fleeting Spirit. And since we're on the draw, this Lightning Bolt is even better because I assume again that they play 2-mana Minor, which we're going to bolt immediately. Now, Esper Sentinel would have been nice, right? Yeah, I mean, you can't really know what you're going to play against in the public queue, but I'm mostly playing with odds, honestly. Now we have to discard this Drakuseth over this Phoenix. Because it's big and unplayable. Ooh, Fable of the Mirror Breaker, really nice though. Yeah, unfortunate how that lined up. We can't prevent them from playing their commander, which means that we are going to just swing in, not bolt the Lanoa Visionary, because I think they will just have another land in hand, and we just go with Fable. Discard Phoenix plus Thraben Portal next turn. And we're trying to attack this with this Djeru and Hazoret into them. Like, we don't care if it dies, we just try to hit some big Eldrazi. That is our game plan here against Mono Green. Like an Elesh Norn is also basically unbeatable for them. So discard these. Just lands, huh? Well, isn't that unfortunate? The issue of just top decking lands is that we really can't discard our hand fast enough for the Djeru and Hazoret to have haste. And if we expose them to sorcery speed interaction, they could just fight with the Warring Collects, right? Given that they have a Nykthos, I think I'm very inclined to Lightning Bolt this Lanoa Visionary. Yep, at least bring that back, sure. We're gonna do it in their upkeep to play around 1 mana, give hexproof to something. So, yep. Lightning Bolt. And the way we play around that, by the way, it's like they will hex, like if they have a 1 mana hexproof spell, they still save the Lanoa Visionary, but at least they spent that additional mana on their turn instead of on my turn. No, what we really need is also the fact that once we flip into the reflection of Kiki-Jiki, what we can do is just copy the Professor of Symbology and just loot away our hand. Okay, that's a really, really good card here by them. That's really scary, actually. That draws them a lot of cards. Another land, unfortunate. So let's play this on white. Let's play our commander. And the question is whether or not to attack here with this Goblin Shaman, but I don't think we want to do that. We can do that next turn anyways. Tennis Tracker. Cityscape Leveler killing our commander, that's fine. And that's exactly what I mean with we can do it next turn anyways, because if our commander dies, we just attack and then play the commander again. The problem is the Cityscape Leveler will just kill the commander on attack again. So what we have to do is to just give our commander haste, which is really, really hard to do with all these lands in hand, right? Crack this fetch, so we are ever so slightly less likely to find another land. And then I think we want to keep this everything back to block. Like, we can't attack him anyways, right? The question is just whether or not to just activate a reflection of Kiki-Jiki and loot away this card in our hand now. Honestly, no. Yeah, I think we're very likely to find something playable. I talked myself into it. Ooh. Do we want to play that? I think we do. That incentivizes the attack by them. Ilharg will die from the Cityscape Leveler attack. I realize that, but that this line guarantees us 100% that we can play Mountain, Djeru Hazoret, Haste, and try to hit something really big. Titan of Industry, not what we want to see. At this point, it's Eldrazi or bust, to be honest. I think this game mostly came down to, or like is, if we lose this, right? If we lose this game, it mostly came down to the opponent having, us having gambled that they have a ramp creature and them not having the ramp creature, but instead the non-ramp, the non-creature ramp option, right? Not much we could have done there. So Ilharg dies. We're not going to block because this thing does have trample. Do we want to keep this? If the reason to keep this is so that we can pick it up with Djeru and Hazoret next turn. But we also don't want that, right? We need something way better than that. So let's not do this. Okay. Heart of the cards, Yugi. Let's do the thing, and that is the thing. That is the thing. That's the thing I was talking about, right? Something really big and really annoying that they can't beat. Flying Vigilance Indestructible certainly qualifies, and now we have successfully stabilized. And we just need to top deck 2 more lands. Okay. Yeah, I am really happy about this. Obviously now they can just like Vorinclex, flip this into the Saga, do the thing, and they can also just go over the top, scarily enough, with a flip Jugen defense the Temple. Or, you know, a Crater of Behemoth. I mean, that does it. We can never play around something like a Crater of... but yeah, I think we had pretty good odds of winning, apart from a couple key pieces. Any tutor kills us, finding Crater of, Jugen defends the Temple will kill us eventually, right? Lots of things actually. I think I'm pretty happy with the decisions I've made this game. GG. We are ready to play against Urabrask, and let's see, opponent goes first. We have a 1-drop, we have a 2-drop. I quite like this. I would just love to have a few more lands. Oh, well. We have 1 more land, 2 more to go. We have a way of discarding our entire hand, and we have instant speed interaction for the opponent's commander. So I think this is currently going really well. Fleeting Spirit. Entering with an additional counter doesn't matter too much because we're going to exile this thing a bunch of times anyways, but oh well. Now, if this was Christmas, I would say, hey, I would love to top deck a 3-drop. Not going to block this because we have to beat through 24 life right now. It is Christmas after all, isn't it? Okay, swing with everything. Beautiful. The one scary thing is that there is a very, very realistic chance that the opponent gets to flip a Urabrask here. If they just have 3 spells here. And they play a Defiler of Instinct instead. I think we are supposed to just kill that in order to have a good attack, right? Discard these 2. Maybe we're supposed to just keep Elesh Norn, honestly. No, we have to attack with Djeru and Hazoret anyways. Okay. Yeah, I think this is just too efficient of an attack not to make. If they block the Fleeting Spirit, we can just exile 3 cards from the graveyard, so they're not going to do that. We are going to discard this Emrakul Phoenix, and if we find a land, yeah, beautiful, we're going to set a stop in their second main phase, not in their end step, and that is going to be of some importance in a bit. Reason being is that Fleeting Spirit returns at the beginning of the next end step. So if you activate it in an end step, it takes basically until the next end step to come back. If we activate it just before the end step in the main phase 2, that allows it to come back in the end step of the opponent. So activate it now. That happens. Now it comes back, and now it can attack immediately. So that's the important part here. Land, Djeru and Hazoret, we are empty-handed. And yeah, decline. Swing in and see what we find. Man, it's really a shame, right? I want to do the content play, but I am unable to, apparently. I mean, we're still beating the ever-living thing out of the opponent. And just like that is our aggro plan, but I would have loved to just cast the big Eldrazi there. So let's see what's happening. I don't think they can do anything, right? I mean, they're dead on board. That is the sad part. Opponent is just sadly dead on board. But man, I would have loved to just... Yeah, we can swing for 3 additional damage here. Playing Adeline, returning Scrapbook Mud. GG! We are done with the games. I hope you enjoyed them as much as I did. And that was Djeru and Hazoret in Historic Brawl. Yeah. Again, really cool hybrid Reanimator aggro deck, which I think is a really cool approach. We sadly didn't do the cheat into play thing really too often. The 2 times we could have done some really big things. We whiffed, and then one other time we just got hoofed, right? But, I mean, that is just going to be an issue you're going to face a lot of the time. Like, we don't have a lot of good, impactful top end, because it needs to be big legendary creatures, and there are not going to be a lot of them in Boros. But I think I'm quite happy with the selection of cards I have here. It's just, do we really want to up, like, considering like we can't even really go higher because I don't think any of them are left that are worth playing. But if we could add more, would we actually add more? Right? Like, the odds are just not in your favor, and I think you need to play something like 25 plus hits, and at that point it is becoming increasingly difficult to actually empty your hand, because you're going to like 25% of your draws are going to be big things, which by the time of you playing Djeru and Hazoret is usually like 3 hits on average, so you could easily have 5 or 6 in your hand, right? So you need to have a lot of looting effects, and then the whole aggro plan doesn't work anymore. And I think Djeru and Hazoret as this aggro plan top end is where you want to be at the end of the day. So the deck is very inconsistent in its nature, but I don't think there is ever going to be a way how to fix that. You can't just increase card quality and hope that you hit effectively. But I mean, the times you do hit, it is a very fun deck. If you want to build this deck yourself, yeah, it is pretty expensive. We already talked about this. We technically run too few hits. We technically run too many hits. I don't even know if there are any hits that I would consider playing over the ones I'm playing right now. So any of these that you don't have, maybe play what you want to play in the spot instead, but I don't know what to replace them with, so you kind of need all of them. Need is a strong word, right? Because this deck, nobody needs to have this deck, but it's a really cool deck in my opinion. But like, from a budget perspective, if you generally want to have a solid collection for Historic Brawl, these are the cards I would recommend you least to craft, right? Where like Lelia, Squee are good in red aggressive decks. Thalia is just a staple of the format if you're in white aggressive decks, right? I am not sure what decks ever wants Zetalpa Primal Norn or Elesh Norn Grand Cenobite. Like, these cards are way, way, way too expensive to be reasonably cast if you want to build your deck optimally, in my opinion. But yeah, so like this is a nightmare on a budget. I generally recommend you to craft these cards. You kind of need these cards first for for Djeru and Hazoret to do their thing, because if you only are stuck with the cheap cards, your commander is no reason to be in the command. Like, you don't have a reason for your commander to be in the command zone if you just are Boros aggro, because we have some other commanders for that. So I think this is going to be a deck that you walk towards, where you're going to craft Boros aggro, and then eventually you just randomly craft a ton of unplayable rares and mythics, and then you say, hey, I can play this deck. My personal win rate with this deck is like, okay, it's like 70%, which to me is, I think, low. Because like I had decks with 80, 90, even 95% win rate over large sample sizes, relatively speaking, not statistically speaking. Yeah, but it is a really fun deck. Also, regarding the mana base, you don't need the utility lands. This is definitely utility land. I'm not even sure if I was supposed to play Fabled Passage. Like, I put it into the deck, but I don't think we want it in this deck. It is too slow. So that's kind of a deck building error. Sorry for that. And then the fixing is pretty important. You're trying to cast double white, double red. You have a 3-color pip commander, which, you know, there are going to be games, like I've had games where it just like had 4 white sources and a red sources on turn 5, and I'm sitting there and like, well, I can't cast my commander, and that's really annoying. And that was with these lands. I mean, okay, that's going to be unlucky, and everybody can be unlucky. It's just, if you have dual lands, you're going to be less unlucky. That's how I see it. Anyways, I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, consider liking the video, subscribing to the channel, and I will see you in the next video. Goodbye.